Well, good morning. It is Wednesday, June 2nd, and we are gathered for our morning devotion. And again, we're using N.T. Wright's book, Hebrews for Everyone. And today's lesson is from chapter 9, verses 11 through 14. But when the Messiah arrived as high priest of the good things that were coming, he entered through the greater and more superior tabernacle, not made with hands, that is not in the present creation, and not with the blood of goats and calves, but with his own blood. He entered once and for all into the holy place, accomplishing a redemption that lasts forever. If the blood of bulls and goats you see and the sprinkling ashes of a heifer make people only, or make them holy in the sense of purifying their bodies when they have been unclean, how much more will the blood of the Messiah, which offers himself to God through the eternal Spirit as a spotless sacrifice, cleanse our conscience from dead works to serve the living God. And so here's this analogy. The first time we moved house, we could hardly believe our luck. We went from a basement flat to a house above ground. The flat had been damp, even to the point of growing fungus on the walls. The house was warm and snug, and we had had no garden at the flat. Now we had a small lawn with flower beds and beautiful trees. Moving was hard work, but it was worth it in every way. Everything was better. And so what is he saying in this passage? So the author of Hebrews is making this argument. So you're in this tabernacle, which we learned in the previous section was just a temporary way for God's people to be redeemed. That the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies for one time a year, and make the sacrifice for the sins of the people. But it was temporary. And we learned that this was just a part of God's plan. Going forward, there would be something greater. And of course, that was the Messiah. That was Jesus. We learned that. But he goes on, the author of Hebrews goes on even further to say, and he's making this argument, so what good was the sacrifice of blood and grain and whatever, the animals? What good is that if it's just temporary? That blood was burned, that blood was just temporary. And he's making the argument that the sacrifice of Jesus, through his own blood, through God's blood, was made perfect. And that we don't need to enter the Holy of Holies anymore once a year. It's right there in front of us. Jesus, the Messiah, made that sacrifice once for all. And it made it a better way of doing things. God's plan was coming into fruition. Tabernacle, Holy of Holies, temporary until we got to the point of the Messiah. And that sacrifice, he's saying, was the perfect sacrifice from God. We don't have to worry about others going in the temple and buying animals and goats and whatever and making those sacrifices. God made that sacrifice with his perfect and pure blood for all people. That's all he's saying in this section, is now the sacrifice of Jesus fulfills all of the laws that were given to us. It fulfills the temple. It makes the temple useless now. We don't have to go there. God's blood, the blood of Jesus, makes our sacrifice pure and holy, always and forever. And we don't need to go back.